All right, welcome back.
Yeah, we're back.
We're going to just go through some more scenarios, and this one is one that I made up because I feel like let's mix it up on the show a little bit. So I've got Jason and Dylan with me, and we're going to be discussing Boba Fett because Mandalorian just wrapped up. Spoilers if you haven't watched it already, but who knows when this episode will be on YouTube. Boba Fett's back, much to my enjoyment, but also he's a fan favorite character. And we're putting him up against Deathstroke from the DC Comics.
Yeah.
Um, so first off, guys, how do they come together?
Well, I think my way of seeing is that Boba Fett is a bounty hunter known throughout the galaxy. Deathstroke is a pretty big catch into like he's a wanted criminal. So it could be something as simple as like nobody can catch Deathstroke. Batman's tired of dealing with him. So probably not Batman, but maybe like Damian Wade or something puts out a hit on him, or someone puts out a hit on Deathstroke. Insert person here, and Boba Fett, basically catches wind of it. Probably because nobody on Earth can basically kill Deathstroke short of like Batman or Damian Wade, and Boba Fett decides that that's enough money to, make me want to go after this guy. So he goes after him, and then the world's greatest cat and mouse game begins.
All right.
Okay.
Anything for you to add, Jason?
Well, I would say that during one of DC's many multiversal crises, um, Deathstroke ends up in the Star Wars universe and
Oh,
actually ends up just being a space bounty hunter, and just ultimately works for the Empire, and gets basically called to, well, what remains of the Empire, because this is Return of the Jedi timeline, after Return of the
okay.
Jedi, about before Force Awakens. So the Empire's just like, hey, so there's this dude named Boba Fett that Vader used to hire a lot. He knows some info. Go get him. And Deathstroke's like, okay, cool. I mean, I'm out here in space in a totally different universe, so why not? So yeah,
All right.
What's the worst that can
So,
happen?
so for this, are we going with Mandalorian Boba Fett?
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it's the same Boba Fett. It's all one
Yep.
Boba Fett.
Well,
Just
because if
pure.
we go with the original trilogy Boba Fett, then he does not have that cool staff fighting,
That's true. He does not have the staff. He
and
does
I
not
feel
have the
like he
staff, but he
has
still
less
has the
weapons.
armor.
I feel like he has less weapons in the original trilogy than he does.
That's also
Okay.
because when he's fighting in it too.
Yeah, he doesn't have the rocket knees.
Like
Everything else he
Yeah.
does.
at that point, we'd have to be like, all right, then we'd have to start pulling from Legend stuff, and then we'll hook up. He has everything if we go Legend stuff.
All that episode was in Mandalorian was legend stuff.
Yeah. So
That's
might as well just go Mandalorian
all it
Boba.
Okay.
was.
Well,
That's
why not?
all old canon.
Or you know what?
Old
Just
Boba.
throw anything that Boba Fett does in there. Why not? Because I feel like Deathstroke. Well, because I feel like otherwise, Deathstroke has a pretty wide range of abilities and
Mm.
experience fighting ridiculously skilled people.
So does
Uh,
Boba. He
so
is on when he was a kid. Numerous times he managed to outwit, almost kill a Jedi Master, Mace Windu, as
Yep.
well as Anakin Skywalker. Albeit not in a direct fight, but I think that's what it comes down to. When they were hunting for Boba, Boba knew it. He lured them there. He
Yep.
almost had them killed if it wasn't for their droids.
Yep.
So, knowing that Boba probably has that level of planning ready should the Empire send an assassin after him, he
Mhm.
probably wouldn't be quite prepared for Deathstroke and like the nitty gritty, like his incredibly. I don't remember what his blades are made of. It's been a long time since I've done any research on Deathstroke, but I think in terms of like general weaponry, while Deathstroke has more, and especially if we're going with normal Deathstroke, or even like if Deathstroke has like been interwoven into the Star Wars universe and has blasters and stuff, Mandalorian steel just flips blasters the bird and lightsabers as
Yeah.
well. So
Yeah.
bullets do nothing. I don't know. Once again, I don't remember what Deathstroke's blades are made of off the top of my head. I know they're very
There's
strong.
nothing that's gonna cut through. It's nothing lightsaber quality. So
Yeah.
so I'm looking at so I just googled what are Deathstroke's weapons made of, and the first thing that popped up was what his armor is made of. It's called a volatile promethium.
yeah, that sounds like
That's
some stupid comic book.
The material can absorb and generate vast amounts of energy. It can deaden impacts and keep Slade insulated in extreme temperatures. They also called him Slade. I know Slade Wilson, but
Yep, that's his name.
I'll always think of Teen Titans when I think of Slade.
Yeah, because they weren't allowed to call him Deathstroke and
Yeah.
Oh,
show for kids.
Um, and of course, Slade in Teen Titans is much more nerfed than comic
he
book.
says his bare fist. He's like, it's like, I'm not finished with you yet, Robin.
Yeah, him and his creepy obsession
Uh,
with young boy.
the
And girl later on, but we're not gonna get into that.
Slade from Teen Titans would not be able to hang with Boba Fett. I do not think.
The normal Slade, once again, I don't know what the feats of that particular armor are, but short of like being able to resist Superman bending and breaking them, I don't think they can hold. I think it just basically comes down to whose armor will get worn down first. And obviously, if Boba's armor has been through a Sarlacc pit, has taken lightsaber hits and blaster hits, as we've seen with the numerous dinks and dents on it, and basically it's the reason he survived the Sarlacc pit. I don't think anything Deathstroke has can get through his arsenal, or at least get through anything in his arsenal can get through his armor. That's what I meant.
Right.
Okay, so I'm doing some reading right now. I'm doing a little bit of reading. Sorry to interrupt you, Jason.
No, that's
Um,
all good.
but if we look at New 52,
Oh my god.
Here we go.
during New 52, Deathstroke war armor made out of NTH metal.
Of
The
course.
material has a range of unique properties such as gravity negation and temperature protection. In
Yep.
addition to being durable, NTH metal can also speed up healing. Given Deathstroke's advanced healing factor, his NTH metal helped him recover at a rapid pace. And
Yeah.
there's a picture combined with this that shows Superman punching Deathstroke right in the chest, and the armor's just taking it, and it's cool.
There you go. There
And
you go.
that armor is specifically made from the materials that the bird people, I forget what they're, Hawk Girl and Hawk Guy
Yeah.
use. So, I mean, that is impressive. I will say that, but normally when people look at either he's rocking his classic armor and I'm like looking up different panels from comic books and I just see some schmuck with a sword stabbing through his armor.
Yeah, because it's just chainmail. Like that first Deathstroke costume is literally chainmail with pirate boots on.
Not saying that like that's the reason he's going to lose against him. I'm just saying like
Yeah.
from what I'm going through, that seems to be like Deathstroke's armor is not the centerpiece. That and I had once again I've not read a lot of DC comics other than The Shadow, which is my boy. But
Yeah.
Holy
I know, I don't know if Deathstroke's armor can take a missile that can basically take down a ship,
Yeah.
or in this.
if we're using the New 52 armor, if it can survive
Yeah,
punched by Superman, then yeah, I think he's got it. But also, by the way, I scrolled down and it talks about his weapons. Dylan, his blades are also made of that volatile promethium. So basically, pretty tough, and it can generate energy and stuff. Deathstroke also has the God Killer sword.
Yeah.
Blade has
I know
wielded a
that.
divine blade called the God Killer, forged by Hephaestus.
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 But he does not actually have it anymore.
The sword can shapeshift into different weapons and fire mystical energy.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, mystical energy doesn't do a whole lot to Mandalorian steel because, well, Jedi have mystical powers. But I'll give you this: the God-killing weapon. As once I'm going to bring this up in the Deathstroke Deadpool battles. Actually, the reason Deathstroke dies. So I will say, if he does pull that out, it might be like at that point I would probably assume like everything else he's exhausted. Bullets don't work on him. His blades probably bounce off the Mandalorian steel. Just because the fact lightsabers don't do anything. If he has to, yeah, because the Beskar, thank you, I couldn't think of the name. And then I think in terms of like long range weaponry, I think Boba has him beat. just because of his mastery of weaponry, as well as the fact he just has he has the flamethrower, which is the flamethrower, so it wouldn't do a whole lot to even the stronger metals. But I think it just kind of comes down to who can get that sword first. Because if he has the ninth metal armor, there's nothing Boba I can even logically think of that would get through that, short of like a Death Star laser. But there's nothing Deathstroke has that can get through Beskar.
Now, could the God Killer potentially get through Beskar, do you think, if it was to shift into something that could?
I mean, at the moment, in terms of Star Wars canon, even in Legend stuff, there's nothing canonically that is known to get through Beskar. Like Beskar, like the Beskar, once again, spoilers for the Mandalorian. Sorry, we already said it, but the Beskar spear Mando had that was made of pure Beskar survived a blast from a Star Destroyer.
Yeah.
His ship was annihilated. The spear remained untouched.
And let's not forget how well, I mean, you did mention it, but for the viewers out there, the Beskar armor tanked those dark trooper punches
Yeah.
with not even a scratch, and also tanked the dark saber.
Yes,
Right.
and the dark saber is stronger than a
Yeah.
lightsaber.
That is true.
Now I guess here's where the question is, because both of them seem to have absolutely ridiculous armor. Um, but so Boba's is the same though, right? Because I'm going by
Yes.
like the Mandalorian, like Mando's armor.
Yeah, canonically, his armor was originally Durasteel, which was far weaker in the original trilogy. But since he has come back, it has been retconned to being
Right.
Beskar.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, because when I look at Mando's armor and then I look at Boba Fett's armor, it feels like Boba Fett's is like like outdated. Like it sometimes looks a little fake to me,
Yeah,
like in comparison, just because it's not as shiny. But
Mhm.
but it looks like both Deathstroke and Boba Fett have absolutely ridiculous armor that can tank pretty much anything.
For the most part, yeah.
So, does Boba Fett have anything on him that could take care of Deathstroke's armor? And has Boba Fett also, Jayson, you're the Star Wars nerd here.
Yeah.
Has Boba Fett ever wielded the dark saber himself?
no.
No. No.
Oh, that seems like something that would have happened.
No.
Well, the thing is, the dark saber is a thing from like the old Republic sort of stuff, and
Mhm.
then in Clone Wars, when they introduced the Mandalorians through that show, they introduced the dark saber through there because because of the Mandalorian Wars, the dark saber was created by the Mandalorian, the only Mandalorian that was a Jedi,
Yeah.
and of course Mandalorian was the ruler of Mandalore. So anyone, it's like Excalibur. Any Mandalorian who earns the, you know, who earns the dark saber is the ruler of Mandalore. Now we saw in Mandalorian that he tried to give this, dark saber back to the Bo-Katan, but Bo-Katan's like, no, da, da, da. They got to fight, which is sort of BS because literally there was an episode of Rebels where a Mandalorian who was able to get the dark saber gave it to Bo-Katan and she gave it to him. So
Ah,
but anyway, that was just for the episode. But yeah, the dark saber. Yeah, no, Boba Fett. Thing is about Boba Fett, and if I don't know if you guys remember from that Mandalorian episode,
Yep.
from that one episode when they found Bo-Katan and the WWE chick.
yeah.
Mhm.
When Mando, the way Mando, not Mando, the way Boba Fett like talks to Bo-Katan,
Yeah.
like no other Mandalorian, because she's royalty. She is like Mandalorian royalty. And the way how he just talks crap about her to her face and talks about how Mandalore was turned into a glass planet by the Empire, I think like Boba is a Mandalorian, but he's only a Mandalorian because he's the clone of a Mandalorian or
Yeah.
foundling
Yeah.
Mando. He has no respect for the culture.
Yeah. He doesn't really care for it, so I don't think he'll ever wield it. So yeah, he's never wielded it. He probably would never will wield it because he really doesn't care about the Mandalorians in terms of their
Yeah.
culture.
Yeah.
And he really only sided with the Jinjarin just because of the fact it's like I made you a promise that was to make sure the kid is alive and safe and stuff.
Yes.
Now, when so now my Star Wars knowledge is limited to the movies and the Mandalorian. And
Yes.
any extended, like, I know enough extended stuff that when the Darksaber got revealed at the end of season 1 of The Mandalorian, I was like, oh shit, that's a big deal. But other than like that's a big deal that it's in there. But I don't know a lot about the other stuff. So is Jango Fett not a Mandalorian? Because I
He
thought
is.
Bobo is like his biological son, thus making him Mandalorian.
So Jango Fett is a foundling like Mando.
I see. Okay.
And Jango Fett, okay, and this is also like backstory that they don't really explain, but before, like around the time during the Phantom Menace years, right,
Yeah.
where like Obi-Wan met like Sabine, the old royalty, Bo-Katan's sister, all that stuff. There was a civil war between Mandalorians, and it was between the Mandalorians that want to be pacifists and the Mandalorians that want to be Mandalorians. And Jango Fett was a foundling under the tutelage of one of the guys in charge of the Mandalorians that wanted to be Mandalorians.
Okay.
Death Watch, like the same people that found Mando in the Mandalorian when we see him as a kid during the Clone Wars.
All right.
Yeah. So
Okay.
so because of that, Django is a Mandalorian the same way Mando is a Mandalorian.
Okay. He kind of just he's just like inherited it and
Because people gotta understand also, even though like they show that there is a Mandalorian planet, the Mandalorians aren't a race; it's a culture. Like Mando said in the first season, like weapons is my religion. You know what I mean? It's more just like it's a thing you adopt more than what you're born into. You know, you can be born into it.
All right. Cool. Fair enough. So when it comes to Boba Fett versus Deathstroke,
Yes.
who would actually win this? Because as far as the armor goes, it seems like they both have ridiculous armor that can just tank most things. And I feel like, I mean, Deathstroke's armor, if we go with the traditional
Prometheum.
yeah, the Prometheum one.
It's not as crazy as an Nth Bell. I was looking at like he can still take like Batman's beating him with that armor on multiple occasions. Like he still gets hurt. So I think if he's wearing his the armor that we always see him wear, which is the Prometheum, I think Boba in terms of just his general arsenal, because I don't think that armor's built to take lasers.
Yeah.
I think Boba wins that because of how destructive Boba's.
It looks like the new 52 one is broken. And then of course Boba's also got the slave one. And that weapon that he showed off, I don't know what it is.
Oh, the
that
detonate,
showed off,
depth charges, yeah.
Yeah, that's from episode 2.
That thing that just annihilated those 2 TIE fighters that were chasing him in Mandalorian. That was ridiculous to me.
I will say if it is a ship fight, or like a fight in terms like if Deathstroke is very good at like because futuristic technology in Batman, but I feel as if like if this is a ship on ship fight, Boba wins 10 out of 10 times. Boba Fett is a badass pilot. Like short of like Han Solo in terms of combat piloting, unlike Han Solo, who's more I wouldn't say running away, but more tactical, or in terms of like get in and get out kind of tactics. Han Solo is better in terms of like warfare. Boba being a Mandalorian means he's a badass when it comes to those kinds of encounters.
Especially since he has probably the least practical ship design of any Star Wars character.
Yeah.
Like, it flies vertically. It doesn't make any sense. It does not look like it should be able to go as fast as it does.
So I will probably say that if we're talking like Deathstroke with his Prometheum armor, in terms of what I've seen and what I've looked up, since I don't know everything about it, but I know enough to know that it says it dampens blows. It does not stop them.
Right.
So I'll probably say Boba takes it in terms of like Prometheum armor versus him, but if it's Nth Metal versus Beskar, I think it's really down to whoever is better at like disarming the R1 to get the God Killer sword.
Exactly.
I think, well, if he's wearing the well, I mean, sometimes Deathstroke goes without the helmet and the mask, right?
Then it's just like Boba Fett's like, that seems horribly impractical, and just shoots him in the other eye.
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of like I feel like if Deathstroke had the Nymph armor, then it would be a stalemate for the most part, unless like I guess Boba shot Deathstroke in the head, or Deathstroke shot Boba in like the arm. Actually, you know what? I mean, there is more. There's a lot more leeway when it comes to that Beskar armor because Boba's is only on his face and his chest,
It's
little
also on
bit
his
on his
forearm.
legs.
It's also on his. Actually, let me look at him.
He's got a lot more exposed.
He does. I
Uh,
will give him that. He does. But I think in terms of like this is the first time we've actually seen like a Mandalorian get really up close and personal in terms of him before his armor, and he just rips through stormtroopers without any armor on, just
yeah, with just
claws.
that one
He
stab
did.
was pretty good.
Yeah,
Um,
I think it really comes down to that. If it's Ninth Metal, Deathstroke from the New 52, because everybody in the New 52 is stupidly overpowerful.
Right.
But if it is classic Deathstroke, like the one that he is in every other time with the Promethean armor, I'm gonna say Boba takes it.
yeah, I'll agree with that. It would be one hell of a fight though.
Oh yeah, it would probably start with both of them be like, hey, I could bring you hot or I could bring you in cold, your choice kind of thing. And
Yeah,
then it's like, all right, well, this is what we have to do. So it would literally come down to like, can Deathstroke survive his onslaught, which I don't think he can because there's not a whole lot of things that can survive blaster fire. And then
Yeah,
if it's go ahead.
I'm sorry. Yeah, honestly, I would give it to Boba Fett because, yeah, Joe, I know you're looking up a new 52 stuff, but
well, I mean, I just looked up a whole list
oh
that just
no, yeah,
broke
I got
down all of his stuff,
Yep.
and
yeah, I got
I'll
you.
go with vanilla Deathstroke because we're going with like vanilla Boba Fett, like
Right,
just from the the motion pictures.
I
Um,
got you.
so we're not giving if we're not giving Boba Fett any upgrades, then we shouldn't give Deathstroke any upgrades. Just
Yes, because here's the thing about like a lot of new 52 stuff, like
it's all
because
bullshit.
the whole reboot, like they were trying to do things like remember how we were talking about Superman earlier?
Yeah.
In the new 52 reboot, they gave Superman a new power where basically if his cells are overcharged by energy,
Oh
he
yeah, the nuke one.
yeah, the nuke, he basically can like cause like a nuclear explosion because he has so much solar radiation energy like exploding from him. And Batman was always like, dude, you can never do that because you'll just make a hole in the atmosphere of the planet and kill everybody. So
Right.
don't do that. So
Yeah,
and
so it's basically like they made this badass ability and it's like, don't ever use it.
don't ever use it. Like don't like you will kill everybody if you do that.
Yeah.
And I will say that like even though Deathstroke is a genius when it comes to combat, he's
Mm-hmm.
been bested by Robins and Batman's just because he's a villain
Exactly.
Right.
a lot of the time, and he's very overconfident in his abilities. So I think Boba, who is very cut and dry, kill and move on kind of soldier, who is very highly trained, Mandalorian, and is a brilliant tactician in his own right. I think in terms of just there's pluses for Deathstroke, but there are far more pluses for Boba because of his armor,
Yeah.
because of the weaponry he has, because of the futuristic tech that he has on him,
And being
and
a Mandalorian.
and being a
Yep.
Mandalorian. So if they get up close and personal, Deathstroke is good. He is more physically powerful, but at that point, you're dealing with a Mandalorian who can probably fight just as well as you are, and basically a nigh invincible armor.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
think
All
it's a
right.
it's a far closer fight than our last one, but
Oh
for
yeah.
sure, I would probably say
It's actually
Boba.
So we are in a unanimous decision that Boba Fett beats Deathstroke.
yep.
But it's certainly not a curb stomp for either of them.
Right.
But when it gets right down to it, Boba's also got a whole ship, and Deathstroke does not.
He has a tank. If you count Arkham Knight, they can barely drive.
Right.
Yeah, but I mean the ground weapon is probably going to lose against the flying one,
Oh, where is
especially
he
when he's
at?
got
What's
that.
that dot in the sky?
Especially when he's got that disintegrating bomb thing. So
Mm-hmm.
Boba Fett takes this one, but I would love to see this fight. Uh,
It-
Death
I
Battle, if you're listening.
if you're listening to this video, do
Yeah, do it.
get it horribly and accurately wrong and only use the new 52 Deathstroke.
There you go.
Hey, they've reused characters before. They used Batman like what 4 times now.
It-
They have.
but
Um,
no, that it'd definitely be one of those things like Deathstroke would win 49 out of 100, and then Boba Fett would win 51 out of 100. It would be close. It
Yeah.
would, I think it'd be very close, but it comes down to Boba Fett's armor and his weaponry and the fact that Deathstroke is not built to take on someone who could take out ships.
and Deathstroke is not as Boba Fett is a lot more focused on long range than he is close range. But he can still kick ass in close range too.
Yep.
So I mean, a hard part would be for Deathstroke to get to him in the first place.
Yeah.
All
And
right.
that's not even counting the whole. I'll say this before we wrap it up on this one. Is that it's not even counting the fact that Boba probably would be prepared for him, so he could very well just booby trap an entire place and not even have to deal with him.
True that.
On
Well,
that
Deathstroke
level,
would probably-
Kevin McAllister could beat Deathstroke because of booby trapping.
Mhm.
Kevin McAllister solos the entire DC universe. Changed my mind.
Yup.
The new 52, the wet
New
bandits.
52 Kevin McAllister.
The new 52 wet bandits are immune to booby traps.
Mhm.
All right. Well, with that being said, let's move on to our next one.